Hey everybody, welcome to the FreeMind podcast. It's Tuesday, January 2nd. We have Tyler Dooley, a double founder of Celly Hard Seltzer and Wake Up Water. Let's jump in and check out Tyler's story.
So I graduated College of the Holy Cross in 2017, and I always knew that I wanted to start my own business. It's something I always wanted to do, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to get into. I've always been a big fan of the food and beverage space. I was kind of one of those people who I'd walk down the aisle of a grocery store, see a new product, and immediately check it out. Love their, critique their packaging, look at the nutritional facts, ingredients, who makes it. And so I was like, okay, this is something I could get involved in. And so I took a job right out of school in tech sales. And it was a small startup company in Boston. Great experience right out of college, and pretty good pay. And that was kind of the whole idea, was do something I enjoyed. But in the back of my head, I always knew that I was going to be saving my paycheck to eventually save up enough money to start my own company. So I worked that job for about a year and a half while I was formulating my first beverage company called Wake Up Water. And once that was ready to go, I had saved up enough money. We launched, and I, quit the job and dove in, fully into Wake Up Water and got that going. Had to pivot pretty, big time during COVID. It was a bottled product we were selling in retail, and the problem during COVID was we were getting all these messages from retailers and distributors saying, "Hey, Tyler, we love the product. We'd love to take you on. We just need to figure out what's going on here with this COVID thing. We need a couple of weeks. We need to make sure that there's paper towels and water. We're not really doing new products." And so I had produced all this inventory, and I really, I quit my job. I wanted to get things going. And I said, well, I can't wait around, because months were passing by and there was no update. There was no changing happening. And this COVID thing wasn't going away. So I didn't want to be at the mercy of distributors and retailers. So I want to go direct to consumer. But as being in the alcohol space, it's expensive to ship liquid across the country. And so I changed Wake Up Water from bottled product to eventually being a powdered product that is much lighter, much smaller, easier to ship across the country. Relaunched that April of 2021. And over the past few years have built that up, and it's starting to do okay now, and then had the opportunity to get into the alcohol space. So about a year ago, I wanted to start a canned vodka soda company, and didn't really have the time, or quite frankly the funds, to do another beverage brand. And I approached my brother and my father, and I said, "Hey, look, guys, have this idea. I can set up the business. I know how to formulate the product. I have distributors and manufacturers ready to help us out. Just need some help here." And so they both were super excited. They both want to get involved. And so the three of us got together and launched Celly, which is kind of a less carbonated vodka soda brand, about a year ago now. We're essentially trying to provide like a premium cocktail without the premium price tag. We're very competitively priced against some of the largest players in the space. Have premium ingredients, great taste. We were actually ranked by Boston Magazine organically the best tasting hard seltzer in the area. So we've been getting some nice feedback from customers. But as you know, it's a difficult space, so we've got our work cut out for us. But we have some great distribution partners, some great accounts that have taken our product on, and a really supportive fan base that are really helping us take this thing to the next level.
First off, I love the branding.
Yeah, thank you.
That is very nostalgic hit there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can hit both brands, or both demos, in the older and the younger.
Exactly. Yeah, so the D2C is a recent thing for us. So with the legality and regulations in alcohol, we didn't have the capacity to ship to customers in different states. It really had to go through a distributor and through retail partners. But there's a really interesting company out there called Liquid Rails, which essentially set up an e-commerce platform for us and with us. And we essentially ship product to a liquor store who has a license to then ship to all these other states. So we were getting inquiries from all these other states of people that wanted to try our product, that really wanted to buy it, and we couldn't offer it to them. So while it's not going to be a main driver of revenue, it is certainly some supplemental income, and also allows us, more importantly, to test different markets before we launch into them. So if we're getting all of a sudden a lot of feedback, a lot of purchases from, say, Providence, we know, okay, hey, maybe Providence, Rhode Island's our next, area to launch into, because we already have that data showing that there's interest there. So from a retail standpoint, we are very much of the mentality of going deep versus wide. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin. We see it all the time in the food and beverage space. Brands launch, they want to be in 15 different states and have distribution everywhere. But what happens is they never build up enough early on initial momentum to really scale their business. So our mindset is focus on small geographical regions and build as much of a volume, as much as a fan base we can in that area. So we're going with a very, kind of saturated, approach there, where we are trying to put as much into Massachusetts and also New Hampshire. So we have right now 3 great distribution partners who kind of service all of Massachusetts and New Hampshire for us. And we're in a lot of great accounts, Market Basket, which is a massive account up in New Hampshire. We're in Total Wine, Cappies, a lot of the big retailers here have taken our product on. So we're super, super appreciative for that.
That's no easy task to expand into new markets. That's one of our more popular services that we do for places like yourself, or our expansion markets, where we go remotely into the markets and then build it up for the time when they're ready to hire a full-time rep to physically be feet on the street. So it's one of those things that transitional period sometimes is overlooked. And like you said, sometimes even people go too far in the beginning and bring somebody in the market before they've tested it all. And then you got a full-time employee with benefits, insurance, a vehicle, yada,
Exactly.
yada, yada, that's now in a state that you may or may not stay in for more than a year. So that's very strategic. And I appreciate you saying that data point. When I was a brand manager in the wholesale world, that was the number one thing. If I said, what's your data points, what's your demos, all this stuff, if they had great beer, it didn't matter, because if you don't know about what your market is or where you want to be, nobody can help you do that other than you. I mean, they can help 100%. You once you choose where you need to go, but until you've made that decision, you're just spinning wheels.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to kind of, really have that data and insight before you start making decisions. I think some people make it on gut instinct, and that's fine. You can do that to an extent, but really having that information prior to actually making these decisions is super important.
I always tell people it's I haven't said this in years. It's the American Idol syndrome, when you've been singing in the shower and in front of your family and everybody says you're great. And then you get out there in front of a professional and you're like, oh shit, I actually don't know how to sing, Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the questions. Yeah, you get asked questions that you really need to know your stuff. I mean, retailers want to know, your sell-through rate. How are you selling through? It's one thing, and this is something people don't really understand, is it's one thing to actually sell into an account. It's a whole nother thing to get customers to come in and actually buy your product. And liquor stores, bars, they don't really want to take just another brand. They want something that is actually going to sell and not collect dust on the bottom shelf. They want to know, hey, how are you guys selling? Do you have any data of similar stores? How can we ensure that we're actually going to move this product? So having that information is really, really important.
And also it's to help them. I mean, at the end of the day, all of us are nothing without the retailers. Mm-hmm. If the retailer is not in business, we have nowhere to sell. I mean, granted, everybody can say e-commerce, but we all know, paid advertising, while it's a service we do as well, it's expensive. It's a comparable, and it's kind of a non-tangible, but it's expensive in the sense. Now you can get hard data from it and everything like that. But when it comes down to actually being on the shelf, you have to walk into that retailer or however much and understand what's your square footage, what's your rent, what's your staffing. And then from his perspective, being able to look at his business and say, okay, every single square inch of this place is worth X. This is worth this much, and this was worth this much of the value of the placement. Am I going to bring him value? And that's how you that's how you have to decide. It's not, here's my great, colored can and here's my beautiful liquid. It's really, how am I going to bring value to you? Because it doesn't do anybody's, do the old dust test while you're walking down the liquor store. It doesn't do anybody justice to be growing bacteria on your bottles.
No, it doesn't. And you bring up a great point. I think having those conversations and coming to those conversations with that information makes retailers' life a lot easier, because they understand, one, you understand their business, you understand their business model. And secondly, you're speaking their language, and you're kind of making the decision easier for them when you provide them with that data saying, okay, hey, look, we're going to take up this much space. Here's our sell-through rate. Here's what you're going to be making on the product. And they can start to kind of calculate for themselves. Does this make sense?
Exactly. It's a simple equation at the end of the day. It's the art and the science, and it's how you present it. And one of the things is, a lot of people are self-conscious about it. I told my sales reps all the time, when you walk into that liquor store, that bar, whatever it is, always be selling something. And they'll always be like, what do you mean? I'm like, even if it's not our thing that's in your hand, it's selling something, and it's selling the concept. It's selling anything else. You got to walk in there, and it's not to sell them to convince them, because at the end of the day, you have to be a consultant. Like, order takers, they're a dime a dozen. And unfortunately, there's a million of them on the streets right now, and they're congesting everything and stealing attention from the retailers. I'll be very honest.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot it's both the person and it's also the distributor, manufacturer, whoever else that doesn't train them properly, that
Hmm.
doesn't tell them how to expand and think freely. It's get a clipboard, get a survey, take the iPad, click, 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 out, you're here and worried about everything. It took the art away. The iPad, while the iPad was an amazing thing for presentations, it took the art away because it made such efficiency of sales that all you're worried about is the checklist. And my
Exactly.
point in telling them to always sell something outside of what you have is because you have to know who they are. You have to, and you don't need to know their revenue. That's the thing. Everybody's always scared. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to ask him how much he makes." You don't. It doesn't matter how much he makes.
Yeah.
But you know what a liquor store owner will tell you, or any owner will always tell you his expenses.
Yes.
They might
Yes.
never tell you their revenue, but they'll tell you their
Mhm.
expenses, and their
Mhm.
expenses is the key to your sale.
Absolutely.
And you have to be able to say, you have to be able to walk away. And I know you guys probably with your thing, you're making the same decision. You could have
Mhm.
went out here with Celly, hooked up an SEO campaign, drove it across the country and been done with it and said, I'm going to shotgun it all over the place and let it go. You're
Mhm.
taking a strategic approach and you're turning people down probably that don't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part when you're launching, is
Yeah.
using and not
Absolutely.
taking everybody.
Absolutely. You can't take in everybody, especially, in the early days when you don't have that bandwidth, whether it's, with the financial resources, the manpower, the boots on the ground. We have absolutely turned down, retailers, new areas to launch in because we know we can't support it the way we want to support it. We know that when we are getting into a retailer, it's not a transaction. We're having a partnership and a relationship with these store owners and store managers where we're giving them our word that we're going to do everything we can to help them sell this product. And so my father, my brother, myself, we're in liquor stores Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every single week doing taste tests and giving people samples of the product to encourage them to hopefully buy. And when the retailers see that level of commitment, they want you to succeed. And it becomes a much more personable approach versus some of these other brands who just drop off product. Like you said, these order takers, they drop off product and they forget about it. And then a few weeks later, a few months later, the retailers are saying, we haven't moved any product. And there's no real effort to do so. So I think that's been a big leg up for us, especially in this area, is, we're a local company, we're a family owned company, but more so than just that is we're giving you our word that we're going to do everything we can to help you sell this product. And that level of commitment, I think, really builds that relationship with those retailers.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Tell me a little bit about with Wake Up Water. Walk me through your strategy there. So obviously this is going to be a completely different go-to-market strategy. And
Exactly.
obviously you have a lot more opportunities and points of distribution opportunities in your area. So
Yeah, it's funny because it's the beverage world, and there are some similarities, but there's also a world of differences. Like as you just kind of referenced, it's an entirely different go-to-market strategy. The whole reason why I started Wake Up Water was because I was a very active person, but I didn't love coffee. I didn't love the taste of it. I didn't love the afternoon crash I was getting with it. So I essentially wanted to create a coffee replacement or an alternative where it provides you all the energy that a coffee would, while also giving you some hydration and B vitamins. And on top of that, no added sugar, no artificial ingredients, only 5 calories. So basically, a healthy opportunity, a healthy product to give you energy and hydration. And the whole strategy there is direct to consumer and e-commerce. So unlike Celly with Wake Up Water, our main focus is driving brand awareness digitally and getting customers to try our product on our website and on Amazon. And, once they try the product, we're fortunate enough to have a good product where people like it and they like to buy again. It becomes kind of part of their morning routine or part of their daily routine. And so we are fortunate enough to have a lot of customers who have just kind of interwoven this into their daily routine and kind of purchase the product frequently to kind of keep it around. So that's our strategy, is building brand awareness, building community of people who are health conscious, wanting a healthy way to energize themselves and fuel themselves for the day. And that business is a few years old now. We're still improving, still growing every year. But I've done a pretty good job thus far.
I think that, that serves such a great problem area that you're talking about. It's and there's a lot of variations now that are
Mhm.
going on between, the mushroom coffees and
Yep.
the matchas and all the stuff that are going through there. And I think that everybody has their space, but what you're presenting is something of convenience. It's also from a health standpoint. It is
Mhm.
it is healthier. You have vitamins. I'm a daily black coffee drinker,
Sure.
but not
Yeah.
for health reasons. And,
Mhm.
and this product is something that I definitely can see myself converting to and supplementing into my life because
Yeah.
there's days where I don't want to smell like coffee. There's days where actually, to be honest with you, some days I wake up and especially in the wintertime, I'm so dehydrated, like coffee's the
Yeah,
last thing I really want to.
exactly.
And I think also from a cost standpoint, you're giving a health forward, conscientious product
Mhm.
for half the cost of Starbucks. You know what I mean?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, depending on where you are, sometimes it's even a third or a fourth of
Yeah,
the cost
yeah,
of a Starbucks
exactly.
coffee. And I think, people like yourself who are black coffee drinkers, black coffee is pretty much the straight coffee. It's not terribly unhealthy. Sure, you want to watch caffeine, intake, but you know, that's not typically our
Right.
kind of target demographic, because those individuals are getting, the pick me up without all the, added sugar and calories. We're really going after those people that go after the flavor coffees and the sugar bombs that, some of these coffee shops sell. And we're offering a convenient way to do it, a cheaper way to do it, a tasty way to do it, and basically saying, hey, look, you can kind of just make this pivot to a healthier product, and it's going to save you money. And by the way, it's not going to dehydrate you. It's not going to have the same calories or sugar that a coffee would. So those are kind of the customers that we're trying to get to kind of give Wake Up Water a try and, switch over.
And your strategy there is it that one is gonna what's your balance of DTC and wholesale or of wholesale and that on there?
Yeah, so we just had spoken about with Celly going deep versus wide. It's a similar approach, deep versus wide, with Wake Up Water. We're focusing direct consumer right now, e-commerce. We aren't in any retail, and that's intentional. So we're no retail, no wholesale accounts. There's probably going to come a time where that makes sense for us, but right now, when you look at it and you look at our ability to be a profitable business with this channel, understanding customer data, controlling that data, controlling the customer journey and the experience of purchasing the products online, we're finding a lot of success doing that. And to launch into retail is an entirely different business model, a whole new channel where we're probably going to have to go out and hire a full-time salesperson. We're going to have to allocate marketing dollars to hopefully achieve sell-through at these retail stores. And it's a bit of the unknown. We don't know quite yet if this product is going to perform as well as we think in retail. We think it will, and there's absolutely the opportunity to, if we're able to support it with the dollars, with the manpower and the effort and the actual dollar allocation to achieving that success. But right now we're really focused on e-commerce. There's a lot of runway there, a lot of business to be had, a lot of customers to be had. So we're continuing to double down on what's working, testing some new stuff that we haven't tried out before. But staying true to ourselves and knowing that e-commerce is our pathway for right now.
And that's fantastic, and it's extremely intelligent to do because your product, while the packaging's great and it is what it is, and I get it and I understand it, it would be hard to relay that off the shelf. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? As opposed to somebody walking by and thinking it's just another Gatorade or just another supplement that's going in or just another flavor that's going in.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a very educational intensive thing. And by no means is that a
Exactly.
steer away. I'm saying it's an opportunity, but the
Yeah.
opportunity is, like you said, it's going to be time and resource intensive education of the consumer.
100%. And there's a time and place to go into retail. I think, where we are as a brand, we're still pretty early on. So I think, continuing to build up one channel as much as you possibly can is a much better strategy than trying to be everywhere at once and not becoming an expert or really doing well in any of those channels. I'd rather exhaust e-commerce as much as possible, grow the business, and then use those profits to then move into retail and then have the dollars and the support to actually go in and make sure that we're having success there.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more there. And it's one of those things that, and not to mention when you walk into a distributor, and this is something that every entrepreneur that's in the e-commerce space that isn't yet in wholesale needs to take note of, or those that are looking to expand. When you walk into a distributor, a lot of times it's like I get phone calls like, "Hey, I'm not getting calls back. I'm not getting calls back," and I'll be like, "What's your voicemail? What's this here?" And it's everybody's lacking the data. Everybody's giving anecdotal presentations, anecdotal evidence, and nobody's coming back and saying that if you spent 5 years in e-commerce and went to a brand manager at UNFI, KE, whoever insert whoever you want in there with data, they'll call you back the same day because you'll be I think
Absolutely.
stand out because it's
Absolutely.
the opposite of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
that
speaking from
proven
my own personal experience sitting in that chair receiving those calls.
Exactly. And that proven success, I think, gives your product and your company a much better chance with those distributors, because they essentially are taking somewhat of a risk, bringing on new product and allocating some of their sales reps' time and efforts to helping move your product, or at least delivering your product. And so they want to make sure your product moves. If you are a brand new product, trying to pitch them on an idea and a vision is much more difficult than coupling that idea and vision with a great product that has a proven track record, and going to them and saying, hey, look, we do $10 million a year on e-commerce, on our website and on Amazon. There's absolutely a need for this. Here's where I think it should go in retail, and we're going to roll out this strategy. That's a much better sell than just going there blindly with a product that you just launched with no sort of data, with no, product market fit established.
The relationship would begin to deteriorate, and not because of one or the other, but because of that imbalance of the partnership. And I used to always say to people all the time, they're not suppliers, they're brewery partners, they're beverage partners. They're not retailers and customers, they're retail partners. Everybody's a partner in this, because without each other, none of this works. Tyler, you could be sitting in a warehouse producing all you want, all the powdered energy waters you want, but it doesn't mean anything if it's going.
Exactly.
I appreciate it. Fascinating. And my one last thing, because I don't get these often, I'd like to, two things actually. One is, what are the dynamics of your family dynamics with the business? Because often that's you guys building something from scratch is a lot more stressful than inheriting something. So
absolutely,
tell me a little bit about the differences there from a generational business, family business, to we're rolling up our sleeves and grinding it out together.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually have a little bit of experience with both. So my family had actually owned a warehousing and trucking company that dated all the way back to 1862. And that business, has been sold off as of a few years ago. But essentially, that was a generational business, and it was being passed down. And I saw that dynamic and how that worked. And I think it is very different when you're building something from the ground up. And some people say you shouldn't mix family and business, but for us, we look at it as, there's no other individuals that we're going to trust more than our own family. So my father, my brother, myself, all very close. We all have a similar vision. We all have a similar level of effort and, kind of work ethic. We all have this idea of where we want to take the brand. And when you bring together a few people with that collective vision that, you're all working towards the same goal, I think it can be very powerful. So, there are certainly days where, we're getting under each other's skin, but ultimately we take a step back and say, hey, look, we're all fighting for the same thing and we're doing this together. And I do think it makes it a little easier. I've started two businesses now from the ground up, first being Wake Up Water. And that was a solo venture. That was, a bit lonely. There's a lot of long nights, a lot of early mornings, and there's nobody in that struggle with you. And a lot of people can't relate to that and don't understand. But it's a very lonely journey being a solo entrepreneur. With Celly, having my brother and my father, you're sharing in the highs, but you're sharing in the lows as well. So having people in your corner to be able to kind of lean on or bounce ideas off of, or just kind of sharing that struggle for a little bit, gives you that sense of community and family that can really help you, kind of push through and kind of get through those things. So it's been great. I wouldn't change it for the world. We're having a lot of fun doing it, which is very important as well. And, we feel like we have something here, and to be able to kind of do it with them is really special.
At the end of the day, that's what I see that as a very envious thing, because of what a beautiful thing that you can create with your family. Absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to have memories together, but to build something that's sustainable and build something that's for future generations as the front of it is pretty exciting. So it complements to that. And I can definitely commiserate with you with the middle of the night wake ups and the notepad on the end table kind of scenarios.
Oh yeah. You should see my notes app on my phone. There's just lists and lists and lists of things. Any ideas that come to me, I'll be like middle of the night, I think of something, I'm writing it down.
I'm the last generation that's still pen and paper on a notepad.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think it sounds like we have a 10-year gap in where we are, but I'm like I'm the phone on everything, but for some reason, but it's writing is for me good. Yeah.
Oh well, I know, I agree with you. I mean, I have my phone, and that's kind of by my bedside sometimes to write things idea, but I have just like stacks of notebooks that I just have all my notes in them, daily things, and as I fill up one, I move on to the next one. And I'm the same way. But I think going through that process alone also builds character, and it makes things so much easier moving forward. When you've done some of the hardest things that you'll ever do in your life alone, it gives you this sense of being able to accomplish anything that life throws itself at you. So when you come across different challenges, different obstacles, it's now, okay, well, I've gone through this before. I've done these challenging things before. So, you're not as taken aback by it. You're not as intimidated by it. You're really able to meet it head on and kind of move through it. So I think, starting a business is one of the hardest things people will ever do, but if you can kind of make it out alive, it's so rewarding and really kind of builds character and builds a sense of accountability and a sense of worth and a sense of like actual ability and knowing that you have the ability to do some of these things.
That's fantastic. And Tyler, it's a impressive story you have there. Two businesses before. I'm assuming you're not yet 30 yet, right?
Not yet 30, closing it on. I'm
That
28,
impressive.
28, but closing in on 30.
And the age means nothing, to be honest with you. The work is what speaks it. So that's the only reason is because it is impressive to see somebody when they come out of college just hitting the ground running from the start. You have your support system. You also have your solopreneur, that part, and just kudos to you. I mean, it's a very impressive story, and I know our audience is going to really enjoy this.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, and I appreciate it.
So make sure we'll close out here with make sure you got to do a little plug on both websites for DTC, whatever options you want there, and then any future things you want to talk about for for 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone wants to connect with me, I'm always open to connecting. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Tyler Dooley. The brand's Wake Up Water. That's going to be drinkwakeupwater.com. Can also find us on Wake Up Water on Instagram. And then for Celly, it's drinkcelly.com and Celly, Drink Celly as the Instagram handle. For next year, a lot of exciting things happening. We are rolling out a new flavor for Wake Up Water, which to me, I think is the best flavor that we've come up with to date. So I'm really, really excited to get that out there. We've made some behind the scenes tweaks to the formula to improve that. So really looking to push aggressively next year in really getting this product out there more. With Celly, we have a lot of exciting things, a lot of new accounts bringing us on. We're in the slow season right now for alcohol, but we're establishing a lot of those relationships and really setting ourselves up for success in 2024. So really excited for both brands, where both are headed, and really excited to share those products with you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
Are you looking for a way to grow your business, reach new customers, and increase your sales? If so, you need the FreeMind Group, founded in 2008 and a provider of creative and strategic solutions for the food and beverage industry. Whether you need branding, marketing, product development, or innovation, the FreeMind Group can help you achieve your goals and unleash your potential. Visit our website at thefreemindgroup.com and get a free consultation today. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.